All right, so thank you so much for being here again tonight. I sincerely appreciate your patience with the technical issues. I am Allison Scola. I am the owner and curator of Experience Sicily, and we are going to talk about traveling solo in a group tonight, and I will answer all of your questions. I'm going to go through a presentation a little bit to guide the conversation and quickly go through a few things, explain who we are at Experience Sicily, what we do, and then we have some guests on the call tonight who I'm going to ask for them to chime in. Some of you have traveled with me and you've traveled solo with me, and I'm hoping that you'll be okay to speak a little bit. If not, you can say no, but of course, if you're comfortable with speaking, I'd really appreciate you telling the other participants in tonight's call about your experience of traveling solo in Sicily with Experience Sicily.
Okay.
So let's get started. And once again, please mute yourselves so that we can focus on the conversation at hand at the moment. So here I am, Allison Scola. I'm in the market at Ortigia, and many of my tours go here. So you'll be seeing this wonderful spice vendor. All right, so I have a poll. I'm going to pull the polls up, and the first poll is, have you been to Sicily? And I'm curious to hear. That should pop up on your screen, and you should be able to answer yes or no. And we're going to see what the answers are. So I'll give you a few seconds to answer that, and we'll see how it goes. All right. So in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, we'll get your answers in. Okay, I'm ending the poll. Okay, and we're going to share the results. So we have 54% of you have been to Sicily and 46% haven't. Okay, so that's great. So we have about half and half, and that's helpful because some of you can certainly answer some questions in the chat if you want, and of other people if you have questions coming up. And I will be doing a long Q&A at the end. So so let's keep going. Okay. All right, so Experience Sicily, we are a boutique tour operator. That means we do small group tours. We specialize in Sicilian travel and some of Italy also. I'm an Italy expert as well, but I really focus on Sicily, doing custom creative itineraries for independent travelers and small group itineraries and tour management for private groups. And once again, please mute yourselves. I also help people do heritage research and experiences to travel to Sicily if they have Sicilian heritage, professional consultation on an itinerary that you reserve if that's something you like to do. And I do some cannoli crawls in New York City, which is a walking tour, and we do online events and stateside gatherings when we can, and lectures and articles, etc. So I hope you'll enjoy what I have to offer. I work with my cousin, Evelina. She's my partner in Sicily. This is her on my right in the picture, my left in the picture. And this is my family in Sicily. So I have an affinity for Sicily because I have Sicilian heritage and I have a lot of family there. And I love sharing Sicily with people. So out of that question, do you have Sicilian heritage? And I'm going to pull the poll up on that one. And let's see here. And I'm going to launch a poll on that one and see if you have Sicilian heritage. And if you do have Sicilian heritage, I'm curious to hear in the chat where you came from and your family came from in Sicily, if you know, and where they came from. And yeah, write it in the chat. Who knows, maybe you have some paesani on the call from the town your family came from, if you happen to know what that town is. So we're going to end this poll in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and let's see what the results are. So it looks like 53% of you have some Sicilian heritage and 47% don't. So this is great. So we have about half and half of you know, what we're looking at here. So all right. So By the way, that's my grandparents in this picture. That's my grandfather with my uncle, Steve. So this is a fun photo of, actually they're in the United States in this photo. So on Long Island having a beach day. So what we're going to talk about today is why travel solo in a group, why Sicily is a spectacular place to visit, the highlights of a Sicily tour, and when you should go, how do we navigate the island, etc., ideal length of visit, and making your trip remarkable. So there's a lot to cover here. And also at the end, I'm going to be doing a drawing for this wonderful book. I will send it to you in the mail. And we'll see who wins, and it's you have to be present to win, of course. And the New Minds of Mount Etna is the book, and some of us have met Benjamin Spencer. If you've come with me and we've met Benjamin, you know how fantastic he is, and this is a great book. So if you don't win it, you should buy it anyway, because if you're into wine and you're into Sicily, Benjamin is the expert of wines on Mount Etna. So it's a fantastic book to check out. Okay, so we know, perhaps many of you know already, that Sicily is in the toe of the boot of Italy. And so it's a little bit off the beaten path. Here it is in the middle of the Mediterranean. We know that it has influence from the Greek side of things and influence from also
Am I
East
supposed to be
Mediterranean.
seeing pictures?
Okay, please mute yourselves if you're not muted. And all of these influences, both from the Middle East, actually, and also in Greece in ancient times, they add up to create this incredible, interesting culture of Sicily that's actually different from most of the rest of Italy. You'll feel like you're really in a different place. It's really a different experience when you go to Sicily. So with those influences, you have ancient Carthage, and you can see the scope of how ancient Carthage was important before the Roman Empire, with all that blue on the left side of this map here, and then also the ancient Greek influence and the ancient Greek Empire. And you can see where the ancient Greeks were in Sicily, and where the Carthaginians were in Sicily. You can tell how much the island was divided between these two cultures. This still influences the culture in Sicily today, and that's kind of part of the fascination of traveling there, seeing those influences of the North African and Spanish influence as well, but also then the Greek influence as well. So we have a fascinating scope of history that spans 3,000 years. And we touch upon all of that during our Experience Sicily tours. So going back to written history, if you will, from 1200 BCE, when we had the Elemi, Sicani, and Siculi tribes, so to speak, through to the current Italian government and state. It's a fascinating history. Being in the middle of the Mediterranean, all different cultures have occupied and influenced what we have today in Sicilian culture. So I want to tell you a little bit about me. I love travel, and I have traveled all over Europe and somewhat in Southeast Asia. I have so much more that I want to do when it's possible. And my love of travel started with solo travel, actually. When I was a young person, I backpacked through Europe on my own at 23. And I lived in London for a few months and worked in London. And then after that, I backpacked by myself. I planned my whole trip. This was in 1996, before the internet existed. I stayed in youth hostels throughout Europe. Just me and my backpack. I met a lot of other solo travelers, which I loved. That made the experience really fun. Not just Americans, and really people from all over the world. And still some of them I keep in touch with even so many years later. And it's really a great experience for a young person. So why now am I telling you should come with Experience Sicily and travel with a group? Well, there are a lot of advantages to traveling in a group. And so all the logistics are taken care of. First of all, that's a big piece of the puzzle here, is that I I do everything. So you don't have to think about it. If you're a busy working professional or just someone who really can't wrap their head around how to plan a tour, let Experience Sicily take care of all the details for you. We, in fact, in this situation with COVID and the pandemic and who knows what else could happen, I am on top of all the travel regulations from day to day up to the minute. So with your travels, I help you deal with that alphabet soup of what is going on. And I'll tell you a little bit now about what the regulations are, which will probably be in place for most of 2022 and 2023. Everyone, by the way, on our tours must be vaccinated. And in order to enter Italy, you pretty much have to be vaccinated or show that you have the equivalent in antibodies. So this is one of the other advantages of being in this small group, is that you are traveling with people that are also vaccinated, and it's a safe group of people. And our group from October 2021, we have a couple people who were on that tour, and they can tell you somewhat about the experience of doing that. Traveling in a group offers camaraderie. It offers built-in community. It offers socializing. So even if you arrive and you don't know anyone, it's very possible that you will make some great friends on this trip. And in fact, one of the advantages is no eating by yourself. So even when you see that we have evenings on your own, time on your own, you're not eating by yourself. Unless you want to, of course. You're really in having an opportunity to hook up with other people on the trip who are also seeking to eat with you, perhaps. So, okay, hold on. I have Gilda asking, and she's one of my people. So I want to just make sure she gets the password. Okay. All right. Okay, thank you. All right, so, and of course there is safety in numbers. That's an obvious thing. And also transportation, guides, excursions, all the expenses of those things are shared amongst the group. So you don't have to worry about any of those things. That's really one of the big advantages. Now, you still have time on your own. If you want that time on your own, you want to go shopping, you want to wander, you want to go to a museum that you have interest in, that you don't think anyone else might be interested in, this is all possible still to do, because in most of these trips that I offer, there is a reasonable amount of time on your own. But like I said, there's often other people that want to find friends to travel around, even to go shopping with. And that's also an option. I attract a certain kind of person to come on tours with me. So generally people are pretty friendly because I'm pretty friendly. So and I really encourage people to get together and meet each other. And that's part of the joy of the travel for me. And one thing to know is that this is not one of those, like, there's a guy at the front of the 40 people with an umbrella, follow me. I never carry an umbrella on purpose, because I really want you to feel like you're traveling with a group of friends. And that is the beauty of a small group. Our groups are 12 people and fewer. Once in a while, we'll have 13 or 14 people. However, it's really generally 12 people or fewer. So you're not going to have a guy with an umbrella at the top of your group there. So one of the questions I have for you is, do you plan on traveling solo? So let me put that poll up and we will see what you have to say. There's some options here. So yes, I'll travel solo. I plan to reserve my own room. You're coming on your own. You don't have any other travelers that you know who's going to be on the trip. Or maybe you're going to travel solo. You have a friend who may come with you and stay in the same room. That's obviously, an option. No, I have a travel partner and we'll share a room with 2 beds, because maybe it's your daughter, or maybe it's your cousin, or maybe it's a good friend that you plan to come together. Or if you're on this call and you are just curious about travel with Experience Sicily, and you can put, no, I'll be traveling with my spouse or life partner, because I know that some people who registered are in that category. So here we go. I'm going to give you 5 more seconds to answer this question. And this helps me also address your questions at the end too. So 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Here we go, ending the poll. And it looks like 55% of you plan to travel solo, and oh, good, Jill is here. Great. Travel solo, and you're gonna reserve your own room. That's great. Okay, so that leads me to the next point. All right, so I'm gonna stop sharing that and get to the next slide. So my question then becomes, here's Camila. What is a single supplement and why do you charge one? Because this is a huge, huge discussion amongst solo travelers. Because when you see the price of one of our tours, and this is true for probably 99% of companies, you will see a single supplement, because the price that we first put the tour on is a double occupancy price. So that means double occupancy means 2 people are sharing a room. When you are traveling alone and you want your own room, you need to pay what we call a single supplement. So the single supplement, in our case, I'm not talking about other companies because I cannot vouch for how they do their finances and to figure out the budgets of their tour. But in the case of Experience Sicily, our single supplement covers the cost difference between 2 people sharing one room versus only one person staying in the same type of room. So what we call this is a deuce, we call it. It's called double used as a single. So essentially a double room is what the price that the hotels tell us. They say a double room costs €200. Okay, if you have 2 people in that room, let's say each person pays for that room at €100 each. If you have one person in that room, it's still €200. That's what we are paying, €200. So then you are required to pay the quote supplement of the balance of that room. Now, some hotels will say, okay, if there's only one person in that double room, we don't have to charge for 2 breakfasts. So you can save €15 on that room cost. And so that single room used, or the double room used as a single, it was €185. Okay, so then I'm only budgeting €85 difference between what you're paying and what 2 people sharing a double room are paying. So we can talk more about if you don't understand that in the Q&A at the end, but this is the explanation period is basically I'm paying €200 for a room, maybe 185 if they're not charging me for breakfast in that cost. And I need to make up that $85 or €85 difference or €100 difference from what 2 people pay for that same room. So that's what it is. Everything else you're paying, I budget my tours according to each person contributing. A single person is contributing to the driver, is contributing to each meal the same, is contributing to each guide the same, is contributing to each excursion the same, whether you are traveling with your spouse or a friend in the double occupancy or not, you're all paying the same price for everything else. The only difference in an Experience Sicily tour is the cost difference between 2 people sharing that same room that costs me the same amount. All right, so just to be clear about how that single supplement works. So I know I'm single, I have to pay it too for me as a tour operator. I take my own room because I need to have some peace of mind between leading the tour. And so therefore I'm paying that single supplement as well. So I'm going to get a little bit into Sicily so you can see the map of Sicily here and the highlights, generally what people visit. We try and get off the beaten path a little bit. And as you can see, this is sort of more of a tourist look at Sicily. So some of the highlights of Sicily are Agrigento, Piazza Armerina. So I'm going through this very quickly because I really want to get to the Q&A part because I think that's where you're going to be more interested. Piazza Armerina is the Roman villa of Casale, also where the bikini girls are. These are the bikini girls. It's really the room of the 10 maidens. They're not on the beach. They are performing or they are in an athletic contest, actually. Piazza Armerina is in the middle of Sicily there, around that purple circle there. Mount Etna is a massive highlight, of course. Here it is, the pistachio trees from Bronte in the foreground, and this is where Etna is on eastern Sicily. Then we have Monreale Cathedral and Cefalù Cathedral, both of which, and also the Cappella Palatina, these are part of the Palermo highlights of Palermo and the Arab Norman heritage sites of Palermo. Catania is the second city of Sicily, and it is famous for its Baroque, beautiful Baroque downtown, which is as a result of the 1693 earthquake, which tomorrow is the commemoration of that date, actually. And Ragusa Ibla is part of that. You can see Ragusa and also Modica and Scicli and Noto. They're all part of this Val di Noto in the late Sicilian Baroque, which is a UNESCO heritage site. So Sicily has 7 UNESCO World Heritage Sites. Pantelica is one of the ones that people don't know what Pantelica is often, but it is an incredible limestone gorge with, these are tombs that you're looking at. Those cutouts are tombs that people lived in 12,000 years before Common Era is when that started. So Pantelica is one of the 7 UNESCO World Heritage Sites, along with the necropolis of Siracusa. So that is all in this area in southeastern Sicily. So there is so much to see. Stromboli, here's the volcano Stromboli that's north of Sicily here in the Aeolian Islands. It's part of the whole volcanic line from Malta up through Mount Vesuvius, and Etna being the biggest of those volcanoes. Stromboli is a volcano also. And the Aeolian Islands are an incredible place to visit in the summer, to go boating and really have a wonderful summer island vacation. So you don't need to go to Greece, folks. You can go to the Aeolian Islands. Also, we have Salinunte, which is in Western Sicily. This is a fantastic archaeological park, one of the largest in Europe, with many Greek temples, similar to Agrigento. And we have Taormina, which is one of the pearls of the Mediterranean. It's a beautiful, beautiful town, like the Amalfi Coast. This is the ancient theater of Taormina, looking at Etna in the distance there. Etna is a huge presence on the eastern side of Sicily, and this shows you where Taormina is. And then, you know, I'm curious to see, and you can start having a conversation, what excites you? What do you like to do when you travel? Tell us in the chat. So I will try and keep my eye on the chat a little bit, but certainly you can tell your fellow participants what you are passionate about, what excites you when you travel. So Palermo is very exciting, Cefalù, and then my next question for you is, when do you hope to travel to Sicily? So let's take a look and see when you plan to travel to Sicily. I'm launching this poll. There's a lot of answers here. And you can only answer one. so let's see what you have to say about when you hope to travel to Sicily. You know, we're offering an Easter tour. I'm actually in the process of updating that itinerary to change it a bit, because the processions that we have planned to do are not going to happen for reasons of the pandemic. And so we are planning to change that itinerary somewhat, and it's going to be a wonderful spring itinerary with Easter stuff in it, because Easter certainly is fantastic time to visit Sicily. And then we have May, and we have summer, and we have September and October. Excellent. So I'm going to end the poll in a couple seconds here, in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, let's see what you have to say. So I have let's see, 4% say Easter, 12% say May 2022, 19% want to travel in the summer, 23% in September, and 27% in October 2022. Excellent. And then next spring and next fall, we have some folks interested in that as well. Excellent. Thank you for answering that. All right, so I have somebody drawing on the screen here. Okay. Yes, let's try as much as the local food and wine. That's exactly right, Joe. And history and connecting with people. Beautiful. You want to eat, Merle? I am with you on that one. We can eat a lot of wonderful food in Sicily. Let's see. Get an understanding of how Sicilians live. Yes, Mark. Yes, absolutely. And that's Mark Hell, who is the editor of a beautiful book about Sicily and America called Sicula Americana, and I have a chapter in that book. So Mark, thanks for joining us tonight. Historic sites, eat in local restaurants. Yes, absolutely. And that's something we do in Experience Sicily. That's part of being in a small group, is we get to eat in small restaurants and trattorias that are family run, off the beaten path kind of places. Museum ruins, Italian food, eat, museum, shop. Yes, Camila, you know that's what we do. Good food, meeting locals, absorbing the culture. Right, absolutely. So lots of things. Visit the markets, absolutely. So Messina, Palermo. Okay, excellent. Okay, that's from right before. Okay, what else we got? People watching, eating, drinking, good wine, and shopping. That sounds great, Chris. I love it. And yes, the best part is meeting the people. And Roseanne, you're absolutely right. It really is. Meeting the Sicilians and getting to know them is really the best part. And it's something that people don't realize so much when they're booking a tour. And especially with me, you really get an opportunity to meet people and have conversations with local Sicilians. And we spend a lot of time interacting with locals, and that's a big part of Experience Sicily. So thank you for answering, yes, these questions. Okay, so let's see. So when to visit? All right, so we did that. And then I want to talk a little bit about how do we navigate Sicily. So to give you an idea of how we navigate Sicily, we, you know, if you're, I have someone drawing on the screen here. That's what that red stuff is. So somebody's using the screen to write notes. Sorry about that. I have no control over that. Let's see. I can't change that. Okay, here I can erase it, maybe. Yes, look at that fancy stuff with Zoom Allison can do. Okay, so all right, so if you see this picture here of, we have Massimo, and some of you have met Massimo. This is the size of the coach that we generally use for Experience Sicily tours that are 12 to 13, 14 people and fewer. This is a 20-seat mini coach, if you will. It's air conditioned, and Massimo is someone I work with. We work with a lot of different companies and generally use a van this size. And I work very closely with the drivers to make sure that we're cleaning the van regularly and that it's up to all of the standards that you would want to be traveling in. So it's comfortable. And your safety is paramount for me. And therefore, one of the things that I'm really careful about is making sure that you're comfortable. And so I like to tell you what to wear each day. I like to tell you, you know, what to expect. It's very important to make you comfortable with how we're going to be traveling. But furthermore, I hire drivers that I know that are going to work with me very well and respect my requests. If you're not comfortable with something, I make sure that we do what we have to do to make you comfortable. So that is how we navigate Sicily in the group tours. The length of the itinerary all depends on the theme and the trip. And there are many ideal lengths. And once again, if you start looking into our details of the tours that we offer, they all are a little different according to the theme. And I can answer questions about that and show you where you can see those day-by-day itineraries. We tend to stay in characteristic accommodations. So in Taormina, we will stay in a grand hotel because that's what you do in Taormina. But once you leave Taormina, I like to stay in places that are really characteristic of the place. So we like to stay in agriturismi, or agriturismo is called singular. These are farmhouse stays, and they're inns, they're family run places, and they really, the food is generally, you know, local. Everything is locally sourced, some of it from the farm itself, depending on the time of year we're there. And generally the families that host us are pretty fantastic. So that's great. So we really make the trip remarkable, like I said, through these interactions with the local people and really getting off the beaten path. And that's a big part of what we do at Experience Sicily. We do visit markets. We enjoy food tours, which is a lot of fun. There's a lot of great eating that happens. We do cooking experiences, so you get to learn some traditional Sicilian recipes, you know, that's a big part of it. We visit wineries and we learn about Sicilian wine and all the different wines across the region. We might be there during olive cultivation time, but we learn about olive oil for sure. Cheese making is a big part of it. There's theater that's live in the spring. If you come with us in the early part of in May, June, July. We have incredible Greek theater in Siracusa. Of course, in the summer, then there's some fascinating boat excursions. We do volcano experiences on Mount Etna, going into lava tubes. We've done donkey trips if we want, if that makes sense to do. We can do hiking and nature walks. Again, all these depend upon the time of year, where we are, and the type of travelers that are on these small group tours. But all these things are possible. We really work to go off the beaten path and find those little hidden corners that you'll really appreciate as part of your travel experience. And once again, like I said, our groups are 12 to 14 people at the most. This is that often includes me and the co-host. This is an example of one of our group sizes. We're here at the Teatro Andromeda in the middle of Sicily. It's really incredible. Sicily, you think all the time about the coastline and that it's an island, but in fact, look at this mountain range, the Sicani mountain range that's behind this group. In the Teatro Andromeda, and look at these views of the Sicani Mountains. It's quite stunning how we can get away from it all and really see the internal part of Sicily, which not many folks get to do. And of course, there's tons of history. There's castles, there's amazing festivals and folklore, which I love to talk about. The myths and the mysteries of Sicily is a big theme that I get into on our tours. And I am your tour leader. If that's not clear, I'm the person that leads you on your tour. So you get to know me right now. There's no surprise of who you're going to meet in Sicily when you get there. And the arts and the crafts are a big part of what I introduce you to, the beautiful ceramics, the Opera dei Pupi, which is the marionette theater. This is a UNESCO recognized art form, and all of the art history and archaeology in the museums. Every trip is a little different. Of course, we're not going to see all these things, but Sicily is rich with all of this incredible stuff. And then, of course, the music is a big part of it for me. I'm a musician, so I have a lot of musician friends around the island, and I love incorporating music and dance into our experience at least once during the trip. So shopping is fantastic in Sicily. Lots of incredible things to purchase along the way. And I always tell you, like, where, I think, or you're going to find the most interesting things to buy, the most local things. And of course, we have Sicilian cuisine. You all know cannoli is from Sicily. It's not, quote, Italian, it's Sicilian. And here we have, like, just, again, amazing food, fresh pasta and macaroni, all different kinds of incredible dishes that are influenced by so many cultures from around the Mediterranean. Couscous, which is up in the upper left corner here. This is part of Sicilian cuisine. Couscous, yes, exactly. So from everything from the sweets like cannoli and the spinge di San Giuseppe, which are here, to the incredible cheeses, to porcini mushrooms from Etna, over fresh tagliatelle, and we have, of course, gelato. This is a gelato and a brioche, which is a real Sicilian ice cream sandwich, essentially. And then incredible, here's caponata, incredible seafood, incredible fresh everything, just fresh, because you're in an agricultural place. So you're eating things that are like within a kilometer, oftentimes, of where you are, caught in the sea that day, kind of thing. So swordfish, that's outrageous, and tuna, that's incredible and fresh. All kinds of shrimp and different seafoods, as well as the sweets, because you have an Arab influence on the cuisine. So the sweets are magnificent if you're into sweets. And once again, the small group tours offer a lot of camaraderie. They offer socializing. We've been isolated. I feel so isolated right now. We're all back into this isolating state these few weeks. We're going to be out of this in a few weeks. All of the projections by the scientists are really positive that we're going to be able to travel and be safe traveling after March 1st, let's say. In fact, I'm going to Sicily in February. I'm going to go. I'm traveling, so I'll let you know how it goes. But just know that we can, in a group, in these small groups, it's really, you make friends and you really feel part of, like, you belong to something, and that's part of the special part about it. So we just going through what my schedule is in October, because many of you showed expressed interest in the fall. We have Stunning Sicily. We are doing Easter in Sicily, although it's a little modified from what's on the website now. That'll be launched in the next week. It's going to be a fantastic tour. Enchanting Sicily is our May tour. I'm taking names for waitlist at this point for Enchanting Sicily. We have Yoga in Sicily with Cleo Mallon. That is in June. Secret Sicily is our July tour. This is a fantastic summer tour. Many of you expressed interest in traveling this summer. I highly recommend Secret Sicily. And Jill is on the call tonight. She did Secret Sicily. I think Genevieve is on the call. She was at Secret Sicily. So maybe we can hear a little bit about their experience of life in a remote Sicilian town. That's what this is. The second title of this trip is called. We spend the time in Liquidia Eubea, and we're going to talk a little bit about that. We have photography in Sicily, which is almost sold out. We have one spot left for this September for photography in Sicily. It's going to be fantastic. Stirring Sicily, we've got 2 different weeks of Stirring Sicily in September. So those of you interested in cooking and wine and food, listen, it's 3 cooking classes. So even if you don't want to cook too much, it's not all cooking. It's just a lot about food and wine, and it's so much fun this trip. 2 different weeks. We stay in the same agriturismo the whole time. Nino Elia, who is here on the left, is my co-host. He keeps us laughing the whole time. So I highly recommend it. Susan, if you're interested in talking a little bit about Stirring Sicily a little bit later, I'd love to hear what you have to say about it. And again, we'll do Stunning Sicily in October, and we have some Stunning Sicily participants from October 2021 on the call. You can find these tours all listed here on our website. Under Tours of Sicily, so experiencesicily.com, go to Tours of Sicily, and then you'll find the pull down menu. When you scroll down in the different, and I'll show you, I'll go switch over to that in a minute. Scroll down, you'll see the day-by-day itineraries of all these tours and the different prices, because every tour is priced differently according to where we're staying and what we're doing, etc. They're all really unique. And of course, I host the Cannoli Crawl and other stateside events. Coming up, just so you know, so you can stay in touch with me, the Travel and Adventure Show that was originally scheduled for the end of January has been moved for our safety to March 19th and 20th. So if you're in the New York area or you want to come up to New York and go to the Travel and Adventure Show, it's going to be a lot of fun. I will be hosting a table there for that weekend. I'm hosting a cannoli making workshop online on February 6th. So if you're interested in learning how to make cannoli, please join me. And then I will be doing more cannoli crawls in the spring. The first one is March 26th. That's a Saturday, and registration is open for that. And hopefully soon, once I have help in place, I'll be back doing more On Sicily podcasts. But you can always find On Sicily podcasts and also things on YouTube, more of these kinds of discussions on YouTube. So let me just go over quickly. I'm looking at the time. I want to just explain very quickly what is going on in Italy in terms of how do we get there and what do we have to do. So what is required to travel to Italy? You must be vaccinated or show proof of COVID recovery with equivalent antibodies to get on the plane to enter Italy. So know that that is a big piece of this pie, that you have to be vaccinated, and it has to be within 6 months of that day of departure, and obviously 2 weeks after getting the vaccination. They want to see also a negative COVID test 24 hours prior to departure. So this is a little different than it was even a few weeks ago. This just changed around December 1st, that you have to have a 24-hour prior to departure negative COVID test. And note that you have to complete the European Digital Passenger Locator Form, the DPLF. This is just to help with contact tracing. That's a very important piece of this also. It's not a big deal. It's a very simple form. And we help our clients with all this stuff. And when returning to the United States, you must present a negative COVID test that was taken within 24 hours before departure, even if you're vaccinated. So that is a very important piece of this. So one of the things that my clients who actually went in December, they were traveling independently. I was not with them, but I was counseling them. I counseled them to purchase what's called eMed. I bought some myself. They're in the other room. I should have here show you. But it is an at-home COVID test. And I bought a number of them so I can do it at home before I leave. And when I'm in Italy, I can do it 24 hours before I come back home. So I highly recommend looking at one of these at-home tests that are approved by the airlines. eMed, that is the letter E, like electronic med. Look online for that. And you can buy 6 tests for $150. And the way it works is that you have an app and they Actually, there's a proctor that sits there and watches you swab your nose, and you wait with the proctor for 15-20 minutes till the results come back. My clients did this in Sicily, also before leaving from Alabama. They had a fantastic experience with it, and I'm going to recommend it to all my clients. It's not included in the price of Experience Sicily tours, but I will recommend it to you to make your life easy. We help our clients make sure they get their COVID tests prior to departure from Sicily, so that can be arranged. But I'm going to really encourage people to get e-meds so that we can avoid that last day before our trip ends to have to all of us go to the clinic and get a test. We can do it, but it's, you know, it'll be more, I think, beneficial to everyone if we just do the in hotel at this point tests. Just a couple of things to know once you're in Italy. It's not from the New York Times. Sorry, I didn't delete that. But Italy requires their residents to have, quote, the super green pass. That means right now, as of today, you cannot go to a supermarket without having been vaccinated in Italy. Okay, so they're getting super, super strict about Italians' vaccination rates to make sure that people are safe in Italy. And in fact, last week, people over 50 now are required to be vaccinated. And if you're not, you get fined. So there's lots of serious stuff going on in terms of them controlling the spread of the virus there. So what do we do as Americans? We have to show our CDC card that shows we've been vaccinated no more than 6 months where we are that day. They want to see that your vaccination is still good within 6 months, plus your passport together to show that you have been vaccinated. And then you can enter restaurants and museums and theaters and supermarkets because they're going to be, the idea is that they really want to control the spread of the virus. So that is good news for all of us who are really concerned about traveling under these circumstances. And I'm watching every day. I watch the Sicilian local news every day. So I really know kind of what's going on there. And like here in the New York area, they're having a surge of Omicron right now. But meanwhile, I'll tell you, my clients who traveled, they came home December 22nd and December 26th from Italy, had no problems. They came home healthy. They had no problems. Like I said, they used e-med to do their tests and they had a fantastic trip. So it's very possible. And we traveled in October without a problem with our group and we had a great time. So drawing, who's going to win the wines of Mount Etna? I did the drawing before. I know I just basically picked my lucky number and figured out who was going to win, and I didn't write the name down, so I'll tell you in a minute who that is. I just want to get to the end of this so we can get to the Q&A. So once again, I'm Allison Scola. I'm the owner and curator of Experience Sicily, and you can find me online at many places, and of course I'll be in touch with you via Eventbrite. But hold on, I will tell you, who won the book. Hold on, I will tell you who won the book. Merle Pearlstein, are you on the call tonight, Merle? Am I saying your name properly? I don't know. No, it doesn't look like she or he is. Oh, yes, you are. I see you, Merle. I see you, Merle. Okay. So I will write to you after, Merle. You have won the book, and I will write to you, get your mailing address, and I'll send this to you in the next couple days, and so you can enjoy your new wines of Mount Etna. Congratulations. So, Merle, did I say your name right? I hope I did. Or Meryl. It's probably Meryl, right? Of course it's Meryl, like Meryl Streep. Okay. All right. Forgive me. All right. So I'm going to open it up. Yes, Meryl, like Meryl Streep. Of course. I see you now in the chat. Thank you. I apologize. All right. So, awesome. I'm so glad you have Prego. So, how does COVID testing work if we start in Rome and then travel to Sicily and back to Rome? Okay, Andy, that's a good question. So basically, it doesn't matter once you get into Italy, you're in Italy. It's about when you're leaving because you have to take the COVID test here in the States before you leave. So that's something you do according to your local lab. But when you're in Italy, wherever you are 24 hours before your departure, you have to find a laboratory to go get tested. Or like I said, you can get one of these e-med tests, which test kits, which is a really smart idea. So there are many places, many labs to get tested. And for all of our clients, we always find a lab near your hotel and make an appointment if necessary. And most of the time it's helpful to have an appointment. And it really costs €15, €20 to get these tests. And you usually get the results back within an hour. So it's really part of now, unfortunately, with your itinerary, you have to plan that last day of your trip that you have to get a test. Do not go to the airport thinking you can get a test. It's not going to happen. It's better wherever you are. And if you're in Rome, there will be a laboratory somewhere in Rome where you are, and that's where you will, find the lab and make your way to the lab. I always recommend going first thing in the morning, which is usually 8 or 8:30, and getting it done right away. And usually that's okay within your 24-hour time frame. Let's see how else. I'm going to ask actually, Gilda. Where are you, Gilda? I know you're here because I let you in. Here you are. I can ask you to unmute. Okay, so Gilda, are you willing to speak for us a little bit? I can't see you.
Absolutely,
okay,
yes.
Okay, there you are. Hi.
Here I am.
Thanks so much.
Thank you for providing the passcode, because I don't know what happened, but I couldn't get in right away.
It was my fault. I apologize that I didn't include that. I didn't realize it wasn't going to be included with the thing. So I apologize. My fault.
Yeah.
My fault. So tell us, you were on what we call now Secret Sicily, but life in a remote Sicilian town. You were on that tour.
Yes.
Yes, and Liquid di Ubea. So tell us about your experience doing that trip and what it was like to travel solo, but in a group with Experience Sicily.
Well, I have to say, I'll start by saying that I always travel alone. I don't like being pinned down with someone else. It's difficult to find a travel partner and feel comfortable the entire trip and decide you're going to do everything together. So I always travel alone. And it leaves me open to experiences, which I wouldn't have if I was traveling with somebody else.
Yes.
But getting back to Experience Sicily, I had met Allison at a Sicilian group affair, and we went to Grotta Azzurra. That's where I sat next to you.
Oh, really? Okay, in New York City.
Yeah, and we spoke, and then we left the event together, and we got on the subway together, and I forget the rest of it, but that's how we got to know each other. And then I kept following Experience Sicily, and I wanted to go to Sicily. My father's family is from Sicily, and I thought, Allison, her tour gave me a means of getting there. I was going to stay 3 weeks after I left Allison, but I went with Allison. So I started the trip with Allison's group. And in fact, I arrived in Palermo 2 hours late. I don't know if you remember this.
Kind of, yeah.
My connection from Rome to Palermo was late. And so I arrived late, and everyone had been waiting. You have to imagine this. There's a driver there, a very nice man. And the rest of the people who had, I think, landed, they might have landed in Palermo as well.
Yeah, they did.
Had a different flight.
Or they had arrived a couple days early. What we did now is actually now for the Secret Sicily tour, I have a prelude Palermo tour. So we'll be.
Oh, that would be lovely. Yeah.
Yeah, it's organized. So you can opt to add that to your Secret Sicily itinerary, and you'll really get a whole scope of the island over the course of those 14 days. And it's during Santa Rosalia too, which is cool.
Oh, that is cool.
So now it's more organized. But yes, there were people that had arrived in Palermo a couple days early. And then
once I tried to smooth over feelings that may have been affected by the fact that they've been waiting.
Right.
We all got into a van and, shared with each other what we expected. And I had not been to Sicily before. I had been to Italy many times before. So I had no way of, my expectations, I was just going to enjoy whatever it was going to be.
Right, you went with an open heart, basically.
Yes, yes. I didn't know quite how to say it, but yes. And we arrive in this small town in the main square, where I find out that I've been placed in a lovely, Airbnb type place, or Camilo's building. Camilo, who I became friends with. Yeah.
You were in the bed and breakfast. Yes.
You were in the bed and breakfast. And I was right across the street from the cafe that we would have breakfast in every morning.
Yep.
So my location was just terrific. And two other women who were traveling solo were in this building.
Yep.
And we made friends, and we've corresponded over the period since that trip. And it was a wonderful town to get the feel of Sicily, because the people were extraordinarily friendly. I do
Yes.
speak Italian, so that certainly was helpful. But I don't think you had to speak Italian to get the idea that the town was welcoming of these group of people who they saw were new to the town.
Yeah, they were curious about us. Like, why are you here?
They're very curious.
What are you doing here?
Especially the elderly men in the square who sit there every day and look at the young women and not so young women.
Right. They're also curious about us. Why were you here? Why are you here?
Yeah, why are we here?
Joy of
Right.
being in Liquidia is because it's not a tourist place. So we really
Right.
have, it's why it's Secret Sicily. You really get to have a experience in Sicily like a local person, because not only do you stay in the bed and breakfast, but there are apartments also that we rent out. They're like Airbnb apartments for the clients and all over the village, and everything is within walking distance to the main square that
Absolutely.
Jill is talking about. And then we meet up for breakfast every day at the central bar, and then we go off on our excursions for the day and come back in the
Right.
evening and mingle with the locals. It's quite a neat.
And it also, it was at the time of the Santa Margherita feast.
Yes, during their
So we got to enjoy the town celebrating Santa Margherita. And
yes.
it's almost like being in, if you've ever been to San Gennaro in the village in New York, it's a feast where there's lots of food and there are people in the street and people dance and sing and drink. And
Yeah,
it's
live
a
music.
lovely
Yeah.
celebration, wonderful
Yeah.
celebration.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm trying to think, the experiences of the whole trip were just fantastic. I mean, as you can gather from what Allison has said up until this point, she has an amazing treasure trove of history in her brain. I don't know how you keep it all together, but she is so knowledgeable about the history and of each region and of the history. There's a remarkable history of the island, which I am just scratching the surface, but the way Allison introduces each site is so unique to her tours, because she has this information at her fingertips, and it really makes the tour so much more important to me. I mean,
right. And then importantly, we meet the local expert guide at the place. So I do the introduction, but then you are meeting the archaeologist who does digs at Valley temples or at the Roman Villa of Casale. So that's part of the experience, that makes it really in depth.
Yes, the guides were wonderful. I remember Fabrizio the best, but I don't know why.
Everyone loves Fabrizio. Fabrizio's our guide on Etna. So.
Yeah, who is a gorgeous Italian man who is just.
Yes. So Gilda, thank you. So Susan, you're unmuted already. So yeah. Susan, you've been on a few of my tours now. Could you talk a little bit about Stirring Sicily? How about that? That's the cooking and wine tour.
I will, but I will absolutely yes on Fabrizio as well. It was all sorts of fun to look at.
Yes.
No, Stirring Sicily, it was lovely. All of the trips were lovely. I want to do that again, but I want to do all of them. But no, Stirring Sicily, it was delicious. All the food was crazy. Giuseppe and was Valentina, is that his name?
Valeria. Mm-hmm.
Valeria. I said it wrong to her. They're just lovely. I mean, I'm not a big talker, but it was lovely. I've gone on 3 trips, and I want that to be the first of many, many more trips.
Right.
I love the temples. I love the Mondreal Cathedral so much. That is so pretty. I loved, of course, as you well know, Mozzarella. But as far as, the Stirring Sicily, I mean, that was Annalisa was lovely. I mean, gosh, the food we made there. And speaking about being like in a local little village, and I mean, her home, that was lovely. Everything is, that's why I keep coming, because then I could see the same thing over and over again. And and we don't, but happily we do get to see some things that I do love, like the Agrigento and the Montreal. But yeah, Stirring Sicily was lovely. All the people I met were lovely, and Cefalo was beautiful. That was lovely there. Just walking around that in the diner, which is not a diner to call, I call it that. Kind of like
talking about La Rotonda.
modern. Yeah,
Right,
it
right,
sounds horrible to say that. It's not a diner, but that's
It feels like it's like a Sicilian style diner, which
Yeah.
again, you're not
But
going to
it's
get that.
not.
So
But it's
it's a
not.
great,
It's so much more than
yeah,
that.
yeah,
I,
yeah.
I don't have enough words to express other than the fact that as many times as I can go, I'm going to go. You know.
Okay,
I
thank you
told
so
you I'd hold your
much.
badge in February. I'd pay my own way.
Well,
I'll
no,
hold your
I'm
badge.
going to do
I'll pay you.
reconnaissance
Let
in
me hold
February.
your badge.
Thank
no.
you, Susan. Thank you so much.
No, and but then in all seriousness, I know I'm doing Easter, but I want to do July and before July as well. Okay, I need to.
All
put
right,
my
well, we'll
feelings
talk.
together.
We're working
There
on
are
all that
millions of
right now.
people. I think it's going to be harder and harder. I have to like really in advance things, but yes.
Yes,
see,
we'll talk about that too.
Yeah.
So then I want to have, thank you, Susan. I want to have Camila talk a little bit because Camila, you came with me in October, so maybe you can comment a little bit on October, but I'm also curious to hear, because you didn't know anyone. You've been to Italy, you speak Italian very well, actually, but what was it like to be a solo traveler coming in the group where you didn't know anyone, you didn't really know what to expect? Talk a little bit about that.
Well, I'm a little bit like Gilda. I'm a solo traveler. I like to do my own thing. I don't want somebody, holding me down, telling me where to go, when to eat, when to drink, what museum. I love museums. I love history. I love all that stuff. But many years ago, probably about 15 years ago, my first trip to Sicily, I stayed in Taormina. I hired a car and a driver, and he took me to Piazza Armerina, to Siracusa. He took me to Agrigento. But, it was very solitary. I was in a car with a driver. I spoke Italian. He spoke Italian. He spoke English. But I didn't get any history. I didn't get any knowledge about anything. I just got there and looked at the sites and then got back in the car and went back to the hotel. So one of the main reasons I encountered Allison, I think on one of these Zooms or something, and I had never been to the western part of Sicily. I'd never been to Palermo. So I was very anxious to get to Palermo. I have relatives in Sicily, but you have to understand something. Sicily is very spread out, and it's not that easy to just hop on a bus. I thought when I went there, I could hop on a bus or hop on a train or get here and get there. Like, it's different if you stay in Rome. You could spend the week in Rome, you go to the Vatican, you go to the Barberini, you go here, there, everywhere. But Sicily, you need to get out there and you need to meet the people and and this is what happened. I mean, Allison, she knows everybody. We go into a place, we go into a store, Allison. And just the idea that you're meeting these people and they're so warm. I mean, I'm Sicilian, so I'm sorry, I'm a little prejudiced. But they're so warm and they're so loving and they greet you and you're doing all these wonderful things. And I did things on this group. And again, what happens is the first couple of days you're on your own because she gives you ample free time. So the first couple of days in Taormina, everybody was doing their own thing and dinners by themselves and stuff. But as we got to know one another on the bus and in the museums and at lunch, I met the most amazing group of people. I mean, I think we were just lucky. It was Susan, it was a mother and daughter from California and another mother and daughter from Pittsburgh. And I think we're going to be lifelong friends. And we're probably going to look to travel again together because by the middle of the trip, where are you going for dinner? let's do this, let's do that. And everybody, and yet we still had our own independence. We were still able to do what we wanted. And it was just a fantastic experience. And I have many friends that have traveled by themselves for years, and they just have an aversion to a tour. They call it a tour and a group, and they just have this aversion. And I say, you know what? You could meet one person, you could meet 5 people, and it doesn't matter. It's what you make out of it and what you glean. And because Allison is so passionate and enthusiastic, and there's so much knowledge involved, and there's so much history involved, that there's no way I could do this. There's no way you could do this on your own. I don't care what driver you get, what tour guide, how many friends you go, you need somebody to guide you through Sicily. So I highly recommend it. I can't come for Easter because my family would totally disown me because I do Easter, and I'm begging them to release me. But I'm probably going to do after Easter. So anyway, I highly recommend it.
Thank you, Camila. Thank you so much. So I want to answer a couple of the questions that have come into the chat here. With regards to, is it worth getting the EU COVID certificate? No, you don't need to. Your CDC card and your passport is all you need for Italy, and that's totally acceptable. Andy has asked, in the event that travel restrictions are imposed and we can't travel, what's the refund policy? So basically, I've been spending the last couple weeks updating my refund policy, because a lot of us tour companies were like, oh, by January 1st, 2022, it's all going to be fine. It's going to be different. No, we know that that's not the case. So I now have across the board changed my refund policy to basically, and this is all outlined in your welcome letters that you get. And of course, if you want me to send it to you, I can do that, just cutting, pasting to an email for you. But basically, I am saying that 45 days before your trip, this is about 5-6 weeks before your trip, if you decide you don't want to go, you can have a full refund up to 45 days before. Once you start getting into that 45 days, it changes to percentages, like 80% refund, and then down to 50% refund. And then basically a week before, I cannot refund your trip because of your fear of travel, let's say. However, obviously, if Italy closes the border or something like that happens, I will refund your money to you, minus, and this is true for all of it, minus a $250 administrative fee, just because I've worked on your trip for you, and I need to have some of that support for returning your funds to you. So my policy is very reasonable. I also pretty much all but require you to have some kind of travel insurance. However, note that travel insurance does not cover you if you decide you just don't want to go because of your fear, unless you have a very particular policy, which you have to buy within 14 days of your first deposit of your trip. And it's called cancel for any reason. And not every company offers this. So I will counsel you. I sell insurance from 5 different companies. So we can look at all the different policies, the prices. It's all based on what state you live in, how old you are, and how long your trip is. That's how you determine the price of travel insurance. You can imagine it's about 10% of the cost of your trip, including your airfare, is generally what the cost. So if you have a $4,000 trip, your insurance is going to be $400, let's say. We'll talk. So I can get into those details with you, but essentially the refund policy is very reasonable. Like I said, up to 45 days before, and you'll know up to 6 weeks before. If you're not feeling comfortable traveling, you will know, and I will know too. We'll have an idea of what's going to happen there, and I'll work with you according to what that is, all within reason. In terms of Emily's question, what are the age ranges of people who attend my tours? Well, it depends on the tour, actually. Each tour is designed to be targeted towards a specific demographic. So my May tour, for example, and my October tour, these tend to be times when mostly people who can travel for 2 weeks with that kind of pricing, because those are 4-star superior level tours. and the time of year, those tend to attract people 60 and up because they're retired and they have the time and the money for that kind of travel. My tours like Yoga in Sicily or Stirring Sicily or Secret Sicily, because of the time of year they are, which is more in the summer, they tend to attract a younger group. Obviously yoga, because you're more fit and you're interested in doing that kind of fitness, so it attracts a younger group. Secret Sicily as well, just because the nature of the kind of place trip it is. In July, it's a little warmer, it's more summer focused, and we stay in this more, quote, rustic environment because it's really off the beaten path. It's not luxurious accommodations at all, and the price reflects that. So I can get more into the details about each tour with you in a different time, or by email, or even a 15-minute phone call. By the way, so I just want to show you, let me share my screen once more quickly so you can see a couple things. Close that. So once again, on my website, if you go to experiencesicily.com, all of the tours are listed here. And let's say we're going to look at yoga in Sicily, just so you can see the day-by-day itinerary, how that works. So you just scroll down and it should pop up if you're patient. Yes, here it comes, because there are some things that feed in. But once you get down here, you'll see that the details of the pricing, how the pricing works is here. And then it gets into the day-by-day descriptions of what we do each day and talks about, which meals are included. And then I get into some other details like what I've been talking about on tonight's call. So you can see the day-by-day description of the tour. Furthermore, if you want to have a one-on-one conversation with me, because I'm also looking at the time I'm sorry we're going so far over, but it's been really informative. You can go to the Contact Us page on experiencesicily.com and schedule a call with me. So you click on that and my calendar of availability comes up, and you can see, book yourself in to a 15-minute conversation. Okay, so please feel free to do that as well. All right, so let me see if I can get to some of these other questions. The age ranges, I did that. How different is the language spoken in Sicily from other parts of Italy? They will speak Italian to you. They speak Italian in Sicily. If you are not someone in their family or they don't know you, they will not speak Sicilian to you. They do speak Sicilian in the smaller towns, in the smaller port villages, fishing villages, but generally Italian is spoken. And if you are a foreigner, they'll speak Italian to you and some English, but not as much English as in Northern Italy for sure. So, so that's kind of part of the charm, is you'll hear both languages, Sicilian and Italian in the market, for example, but if they talk to you, it will be in Italian. So you can practice your Italian a lot with the locals. They'll enjoy hearing you speak Italian and help you, and they'll practice some English words on you too. And they'll say things like, the Grande Mela, the New York, the Big Apple. I've been to the Big Apple, this kind of stuff. To prepare for Secret Sicily, what tour guide do you recommend reading? I have a few books. I mean, my whole bookshelf in the back of me here is all Sicilian books. I highly recommend John Keehey's books, which one is called The Sicilian Splendors, and the other one's called Seeking Sicily, John Keehey. And I can pull it off the bookshelf right now. John's books are, like he likes to say, where is Seeking Sicily? Well, here's Sicilian Splendors. He likes to say he's a writer who travels. He's not a travel writer, he's a writer who travels. He was a journalist, and so he's done great research, and he really gets into the off the beaten path towns. This is Sicilian Splendors and Seeking Sicily are wonderful, wonderful books for preparing to get a sense of the place. In terms of other like travel guides, I highly recommend the Blue Guide to Sicily. It has great history in it. It's excellent. I also love Lonely Planet as well, always. So, but the Blue Guide is great. Questions about the rule of being vaccinated within 6 months of traveling to Italy. I was fully vaccinated last spring, but if I am planning to visit Italy in October 2022, is my vaccination card outdated? Yes. So you will have to get boosted to travel to Italy, probably. And again, once we, listen, by August 1st, 2022, this regulation could be totally different. It could be different on March 1st. It could be different on July 1st. So that's the advantage of working with a travel advisor like myself, is that you'll be very informed about these changes because I'm on top of it every day pretty much. So I can help you sort out that alphabet soup. But do plan on, basically, I think what's going to happen going forwards is that they're going to want to see that you have been vaccinated within 6 months of arrival and at least from 2 weeks from the last shot that you've received. I think that's what's going to be the case. And really it has to do with Italy wanting to protect its hospital system. They have to be really cognizant of the amount of people in intensive care. They only have so many beds, so much room, and they want to be able to service everyone who comes in. And so if they see a surge in cases and surge of people going in intensive care, that's when they start getting very strict and the masks go up and the restrictions get harder. So they're just being very cognizant of being able to serve the population that they are meant to serve because it's a national healthcare system. And in fact, that's kind of what we have to do here in New York and New Jersey, for example, is they're watching the numbers in the hospitals. And when they see that those numbers are going higher and the hospital and the healthcare workers can't handle it, that's when we start seeing more stricter restrictions on how we behave. Thank you. Yes, it's a very good policy. Yes, thank you, Andy. I appreciate that. It's been heartbreaking. Every part of this is heartbreaking for me, and yet I'm hanging on. I'm hanging on and determined to work. You should write your own book. I am going to be writing my own book, Teresa. I'm working on 2 books right now, slowly. A book about cannoli, which is going to be a lot of fun to read, and also a book about the divine feminine in Sicily, which I've been doing lots of research on that. So stand by. That'll be in a couple years to come. And I'm also working on sort of an electronic subscription to my website with all of my insider tips as well. So that should come. Anyway, thank you for that great question. I'm ready, boosted in December. Do we get a second booster? Again, we'll have to see, Esther Marie, when you plan to travel and what that, what they're recommending. For example, I'm going to be leaving at the end of May to go for a number of weeks, and my 6 months from my booster will have expired like in the middle of my trip. So I'm probably going to get boosted again before I leave. That's my plan. Even if it's not within the 6 month, I'll still be within 6 months. It's going to be at the end of my 6 months. I'm going to go get boosted just because I don't want to have any problems myself. So think about your own safety, your own health. And we know from, just looking at Omicron that people who are boosted, they get sick. They've got, this is a very contagious variant. However, their symptoms are like the common cold, and it can pass in 5 to 7 days without too much and not needing hospitalization. And so that is what we're hoping. This is a sign that we're going to have major herd immunity in the next few weeks from Omicron, and that with that, the variants might become less and less virulent, I guess, if you will. And let's hope. I mean, I'm not a scientist. I've spoken to a scientist Cleo, who's our Yoga in Sicily co-host and yoga instructor. Thank you, Andy. Thanks for sticking by. Her husband is a scientist who works at Temple University. He's a computer scientist, data analyst, as well as a biologist. He's a top of his field. He's in the inside circle of COVID researchers in the United States and internationally. And I spoke with him, and he said, we believe that this Omicron is going to really get herd immunity, and it's going to be passed in a few weeks. And this is going to be a huge help that sort of getting this thing out of here. That's what the scientists are saying. We'll hope. But with that, we can say, as Camila said, and Susan also came on the trip in October with us, it's possible to travel safely. My objective as a tour operator is to make sure that you are safe on my trips. I do not want to see anyone sick. I want you to be informed. And part of what we do in these small groups is I really encourage everyone to consider, you're in a pod, you're traveling together. You may not like everyone in the group. That's always possible. I try and, my hope is that everyone likes each other. But the point is, you're a family. You become a family for those days you're together, and everyone needs to watch out for everybody's best interest. And generally that's what happens because people want to travel safely and they want to enjoy Sicily. So thank you so much, Gail, for coming. I will stick around for a minute or two if you have more questions, by all means, but if I know how late it is, it's 9 o'clock. So if you need to sign off, by all means, you can do that. But I'm going to answer a couple more questions, those interested. Otherwise, thank you again so much for being here tonight. And please do reach out by email, reach out by Cynthia, schedule yourself in for an appointment if you wish. And we can answer your individual questions that way. How about mobility issues? What would I need to bring a wheelchair for longer distance days? Right, Teresa, that's a good question. And I would say yes. There are going to be some days and some sites that you would prefer to have a wheelchair and versus what you normally, you have a prosthetic leg. So some of those days will be more comfortable if you have a wheelchair. And in fact, I had a client in 2019 who traveled exclusively by wheelchair in Sicily. And it went so well. We had a fantastic van for her. We had accommodations, everything was worked out in advance. The guides were fantastic. So it's as much as one might think that it's difficult to travel in an ancient place, there's a lot of stairs, let's say. It is possible. It's possible to travel in Sicily when you have a wheelchair to rely on for your movement. And we can talk more about that for sure, and how we would do that in a group situation. And I would advise you in terms of what days you would need it and when you would want it for sure. I would love to host you on a tour, Teresa. I'd love it. How do you spell the author John's last name? Keehey is Keahey, and I will answer that in the chat so you have it. So he's Seeking Sicily, and Sicilian Splendors is his book. And I can also send you, I have a list of recommended reading, and I can also email that list to you if you wish. Okay, let's see. Anything else here? Thank you very much. I appreciate, again, all of your patience with the technology issues. It's so silly. I look forward to my first interview in May. Thank you, Rita. I'm so excited. I look forward to it too. And we need to talk about Malta if it's even possible. I don't know. We'll see. So yes, exactly. And we'll be in touch in the next couple of days. We're putting all those invoices together and everything now. So you'll be hearing from Elizabeth soon. So thank you for your patience.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining tonight.
Bye.
Okay, thank you. Bye. All right. So looking forward to my second trip with you in September. I am too, Genevieve. I'm so excited to host you again, and Meg as well. I can't wait to host you too. And again, we're just slow on getting all these invoices out and contracts because I finally have some help. So we'll be doing that in the next few days. And thank you, JH. Look, it's my pleasure to help you out. And okay. So Pat, thank you, Pat, for joining. It's nice to see you as well. So I'm going to say goodnight unless there's any more questions. Tori, did you have any questions, Tori? You've been so patient and attentive.
I just want to say thank you so much. I've been watching your videos over the last couple of years, and this is something that I've just really been wanting to do for a really long time. Because my dad's grandparents are from there, and there's so much that I don't know about that side of my family. And so I really want to try to connect with my roots and just connect with people in general. And I love traveling. I've been to Italy before, but I've never been to Sicily, and it's always been a dream of mine. So
yes, well, and it's life-changing. It's really life-changing when you have heritage from there. it's life-changing for yourself to understand where you came from. And then you start seeing some things and you're like, oh, that's where that nuance that my grandmother used to do, or my father used to
Yeah.
say, or he used to speak like this. That's where it comes from. My Sicilian.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's really, it was life-changing for me. Obviously, the first time I went, it just grounded me and gave me a foundation to my own self that I didn't even think was missing or possible. As an American, it just changes everything for you when you have that perspective. So yeah.
Yeah, and I would also love to chat with you maybe sometime, just to discuss like some travel options, because
Yeah.
I was really interested in the May one, but I'm also interested in the October one, and then just if there's like any other times to travel to, and to also like I know you maybe mentioned like in like another video I watched of just being able to try to track down family members. And there is a possibility that I might actually still have some cousins that are
Yes, there is.
Um,
There is. Absolutely.
there.
Mhm. So we can
That's
talk
something
about
I'm
that. Absolutely. So schedule yourself a time to talk to me when you're ready. And yes, the heritage thing is huge. It's really, really a big deal. And when you have leads and you know more about where your family came from, it always helps to have the town and Ellis Island records to begin with are part of how you start peeling the onion, let's say. And then you get into everything from marriage certificates and birth certificates, etc. from there. So yeah, it's really peeling the onion. It's what it's like. And it's pretty spectacular to meet your relatives. And for me as a tour operator, being with people when I'm accompanying them in those experiences, sometimes I've done that and it's just like everyone's crying. It's amazing. So yeah. So yeah, keep it in mind. And when you're, ready to talk, we can talk. Absolutely.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Allison. I really appreciate it.
No, thank you. Thanks for being on the call. I appreciate it. All right. Anyone else? Thank you. I'll contact you about trip to Naples after Sicily. Sounds good, Esther Marie. And yeah, April and July, Susan, I know. And Meryl, thank you very much. I will be sending you that book this coming week. We'll get that to you. All right. And you're on the east side. You're actually near my dad's apartment. So, all right. All right, everyone. I'm going to sign off. And thank you, Gilda, so much for speaking tonight. I sincerely appreciate it. And again, thanks everyone for your patience with me with all of the technology. Have a wonderful evening. And I look forward to seeing you in Sicily. Okay,
Bye, Allison. Thank
bye,
you.
Susan. Talk to you soon. Ciao.
Yes. Bye. Ciao.